How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I'm here with Trevor and Danny, and we're having another episode for you guys, so I hope you guys enjoy. Danny, you've been in Reno for the last couple of weeks, so it's been kind of hard for us to get together. How's that been?
Man, it's work. It's a busy time of the year for me, for the industry I'm in, and it's really wreaking havoc on our podcast recording time, but we're sticking to it. We're sticking to it.
When you drive out there, do you drive by yourself? Do you got somebody to go with you?
No, I drive by myself and some podcasts. That's pretty much it.
You get like drive time and stuff, though, right?
Yeah, you get drive time.
Definitely worth
God.
it.
Yeah.
What about you, Trev? What's new? What's been going on with you, bud?
Well, yesterday I went to a wedding. My mom got married, so that was eventful. I got to walk her down the aisle, so that was cool. Never got to do that, and odds are I might not be able to do that ever because I have 2 boys. So got to cross that off of a bucket list, I guess you could say.
Was there a ton of people there?
I'd probably say like anywhere from 50 to 70 people. I mean, nothing crazy. It's just mostly family with a few friends sprinkled in.
I like that. That's a good number. I like that. It's a nice number when it's family involved.
And what was cool too is that it was at Greens. They had like bodyguards guarding the door.
The hell?
When we were first walking, I was like, this can't be the right place. These guys look scary as fuck. But then they opened the door for me, like, he must be here. Yeah. I double taked. I was like, thanks, guys.
That's right. You watch that door.
This is your mom's second wedding?
This is her 3rd marriage.
3rd marriage?
She got married when she was like 16 or 17 to my sister's father.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Not trying to get into all that, but so this wedding, how was it big? Was there a lot of people? Small?
I'd say it was small.
He did say 50 to 75.
Oh, totally. Sorry, I was blanking. I was messing around with the mixer.
I didn't know how to answer. I looked at Dan. I was like, "Do I go into it?"
Yeah, no. Sorry, I was totally.
We can cut that
I ignored the shit out of you. Is what happened.
Nothing new there, though.
50, 60 people.
Something like that. Yeah.
Who was the officiant? Was it like a priest or something?
It was my uncle. He actually married my sister and her husband, and now my mom and her husband. So
I think I remember Iris telling me that it was like super cash.
Oh yeah, I got to wear jeans. I didn't even have to tuck in my shirt.
You wore your Converse, didn't you?
My mom said, you can wear jeans and your Converse. I'm like, boom. Bride said nobody can bitch about this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because who's the boss of a wedding? The motherfucking bride.
Yeah, Bridezilla. You don't want to piss them off. But the reason I asked is because, I mean, was it like religious at all? Or with it being casual, I would imagine it's probably not.
There was a prayer to begin. I mean, my uncle's pretty religious. Believe he's a Seventh-day Adventist. Adventist.
Yeah, like dentist, but Adventist.
So they go to like church on
Way
Saturdays.
to break it down for the...
So... I mean, he's pretty religious, but I mean, I think he said a prayer at the beginning and might have said some words about God, but nothing crazy.
You think that was his choice? Was that your mom's choice?
I think it was a combination because even in my mother's vows, she said a few things about God and helping her lead her in her life to meeting her husband and whatnot. So
that was something that I kind of wanted to talk about today because I was on Facebook and then there was that post from the chick from, I can't say her name, so I'm going to just say the girl from Big Bang Theory, Sheldon's girlfriend. Now Trevor, just a light bulb hit Trevor. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. But
I don't know her name, but
her last name is
didn't watch it.
I know it's like Bialik. I don't know how to pronounce her first name, though.
I didn't watch a video. I was just listening, so I didn't see her.
Yeah.
So, but you saying, I was like, oh yeah, I remember reading that she was like a legit scientist.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. So she's a scientist, but she's Jewish. So has a religious background, but she's a scientist. And everybody says those kind of counteract each other, if anything, is because you're either a scientist and you believe the science behind things, or you're religious and you believe what your religion tells you. And so she did a whole video about how she's both and how she had her opinions about the religion, but she still followed it and believed in it. And so I was kind of curious with you guys, because I know we're all in kind of different religious backgrounds. Kind of want to know what your guys' opinion is on your religion or so on and so forth, or what you guys think about it. I know, Danny, you grew up Catholic, so I mean...
Yeah.
How was it growing up and where you're at now? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, I grew up traditional Roman Catholic. So there was a break in Catholicism in like the 60s where there was a council. Catholic Church has these councils where they go over dogma and matters of faith and whatnot. And there was a council called the Second Vatican Council, and that's where Catholicism split up into 2 parts, or into many parts, actually, I guess you could say. But everyone that follows the Pope now, they've made a whole bunch of changes. You know, they got rid of the communion rails and the priest faces the people and all that stuff. Well, my type of Catholic, we still use Latin for the service. everything is the way it was before those changes. So, communion on the tongue, you have the priest facing the altar, all that sort of thing. And I was, my uncle was our parish priest, so I was pretty heavy into it. We go to church multiple times a week. Whenever there was church, we'd go. It was a half an hour
It was a whole
drive.
family thing too. Like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. We always had to get 100% in the Sunday school. We talked about that and whatnot. And it was, we were heavily involved in it. We learned all kinds of things about it.
So where does that put you now? Now that, you're out of the house, you're not under the strict rules of it, but
the thing is too, is that the one thing I've noticed is that, obviously I still believe in God. I believe that there is a higher power. The only issue that I had was you were asked to accept a lot of things just based blindly without reason. I think that's like what the girl from the Big Bang Theory was talking about in that video, is like, it's that whole reason versus belief thing, where the second you start thinking more about some of the things that you've just been told to accept on faith, you kind of start having doubts about it, I guess. Not like about the religion in general, but just little things that pop up. You're like, okay, wait a second. I would like to know the reasons behind that without just saying, oh, okay, I believe it. And so that's what I've done more of. I've done more of like looking into certain things in my faith and going, okay, now that I understand the reason behind it, I can accept it better, or, vice versa the other way.
I feel like that's most people's argument, is you can always sit there and question it, but it's almost easier to dive into what you already believe and find the answers there. I know with like Christianity, all your answers you need are in the Bible. So anytime you question it, you go to the Bible. For me personally, growing up Christian, I don't even want to say grew up Christian. My family's Christian, but I didn't get into it as much as the rest of my family did. So I wasn't forced to go to church every day or anything like that. We went every other Sunday or something like that when I was little. And as we got older, we kind of drifted away from it. And so everything I know kind of about religion for me is more just about what I've kind of picked up as I went along and just my own beliefs and just the little things here and there in church. But I can't sit here and say I'm super Christian or I'm hardcore Christian or even try to teach anybody about Christianity, because I don't necessarily know it enough to preach it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I think for me, when I think of God or this and that, I think of more of as a moral and ethics kind of code than so much a book that you have to follow. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. What about you, Trev? Where are you at in life?
Well, growing up, we weren't really too religious. We kind of go to church every once in a while. I had a neighbor who their father was a pastor. I believe it's for Christians, right? Is that what?
Yeah, I think they go generally with pastor.
Yeah, so he was a pastor. So I used to go to like the Wednesday kids group meetings. And I'd sometimes go to Sunday school or whatever with them. So I definitely grew up as a Christian. That was definitely my background. But it was never heavily forced onto me to have to go or, do anything like that. Then once I got a little bit older and graduated from high school, my wife and I, we kind of dabbed into the Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, I was so going to ask about that.
Yeah, so we got into that for a little bit. It's very similar to Christianity, which a lot of people don't want to believe in just because of the Jehovah in front of it.
How did that happen? Was it one of those just like door to door and they just happened to catch you on a good day?
My wife started, answered the door, like I swear, like a few months after Aaron was born. So she, young mother, answers the door, sits down with them. Then she started going, doing like weekly like Bible studies with them, and then going to the Sunday meetings and everything. So I was like, all right, like I'll check it out just to kind of be part of it. So it was very similar to Christianity, like I said. The only thing is it's just very strict, extremely strict. A lot of the like holidays, the reason why they don't celebrate is because they have very pagan origins. That's why they don't do it. And in the Bible, they don't talk about any birthdays, so that's why they don't celebrate birthdays, because they don't want to make themselves seem like they're disobeying
right
the Lord and Jesus, because they believe in all that. For people that are being like, oh no, that's a cult. It's like I wouldn't consider them a cult. There's kind of extreme Christians, I'd say, but not in like the physical way. Like
It's funny that you say cult, because Danny and I were talking about this yesterday about Scientology and stuff, and how it's just a strong belief. It's not necessarily like
drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's not drinking but almost every religion is like that, because you're drinking the Kool-Aid of whatever you believe.
Yeah,
it's almost like being a sports fan. You're a Laker fan. You're not going to be you don't like the Celtics. Everything about the Celtics is wrong, but you flip the page and you become a Celtics fan. The Lakers are the opposite. That's not a cult. It's just true belief, or that's what it seems like.
Yeah, and we were talking about that last night while we were out, and we were talking about in specific that one girl from the Westboro Baptist Church that was on the Joe Rogan Experience, and how she was talking about how their whole, and everyone who knows, the Westboro Baptist Church are the ones that protest all the soldiers' funerals, and they protest all the homosexual funerals. They say 9/11 was like a blessing.
Poster boards saying
they're at
everything negative possible.
Yeah, every single thing they can protest that way, they do. And what's crazy is from their perspective, and she explains it really well. I recommend people listening to that one because that's a great one. She explains it really well as to like when she was in it, and she and some of her siblings are out now, but she said that they really thought they were helping people. They thought their interpretation of the Bible was, not a lot of people are going to be saved and everyone's sinning and all these horrible things happening are a punishment for sin. And they were helping people not sin. And it's so weird because when you start looking at every religion, you start seeing that same ideology and that same belief in that you are correct and everyone else is wrong is in every single religion. It's in the Catholic religion. It's in the Muslim religion. It's in, if you're a Hindu, it's the same thing. It's like everyone else is wrong except for you. You've got the truth. And you just got to put yourself in other people's shoes, and that's how you have to read how they're acting, and you have to understand that part of it. And that was something that growing up in a super strict religion like mine, where it was like everyone else is wrong, don't even think about other religions, don't even talk about other religions, don't get involved in anything because you might be tempted to go there. Like, I'm not tempted to go to any other religion, but it's really good to know where everyone else is coming from because it helps you be a better human being.
But it can also get to the point where you get completely exiled from your church that you would go to,
absolutely.
Right? If you were to question too much.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a thing with Catholicism, it's called excommunication, where like if you don't follow the rules, you're excommunicated from the church. You basically you're going to go to hell.
That's what Jehovah's Witnesses do as well. If you get a divorce, because in the Bible, you're not supposed to get divorced from your wife. Everybody is supposed to just like shun you, basically. Even like, let's say I got divorced and my kids are there, like my kids aren't supposed to talk to me anymore. Like it's supposed to be like completely just cut off.
Right. Yeah. And I know it's like that in multiple religions. I mean, it's you either believe it or you don't. And if you don't, go find something else and stay away from us.
Don't deal with us.
Yeah.
At all.
Don't mess with our party. Trevor, how was it for you being a part of it? And then like, did you guys have to like slow roll your way out of it, or did you just cut it cold turkey? Like how was that? I'm so curious because we didn't really ever talk about it.
Me too. I never knew this about you. This is really interesting.
Like we were probably in it for a couple of years. Like the reason why we kind of got out of it just because we were really missing our family, like especially my family, because we're a big family. We're all pretty close, and like I remember just always like hanging out and like playing games with my cousins and everything, and just because we weren't supposed to be going to any parties or events as far as like Christmas or Thanksgiving, like we weren't supposed to partake in any of that. So I felt very left out of my family, and that was just really tough for me because just my whole life that's what it was. So that's what really drew at my heart to kind of be like, all right, let's take a step back. Like I cannot wholeheartedly give into this when it's affecting me this much. Like,
did you have to go to Iris and tell her how you were feeling first, or was she feeling it kind of the same way you were?
She was kind of feeling it too, because she enjoyed hanging out with my family as well, and we were definitely left out, I would say, quotations as I do that with the guys. Because like I said, like we would go to like the Christmas party, but we wouldn't partake in like the giving of presents and stuff like that. And like my mom would still like say like Merry Christmas and give my kids presents, and it's like very hard to try to teach them, be like, oh no, we're not taking part of this, but here's some presents because of it. So I don't know, we were kind of like hypocrites in a sense when we were doing it as well.
Yeah, I can see, especially when kids are involved, it's like that'd probably be the toughest part, is telling them, oh, okay, yeah, like this is Christmas, is a different type of, like Christians do this and that, and it's just I don't know, I could see where you would get tough with it because you don't want your kids thinking differently than they should be, but you don't want them missing out on all the fun that's going on or anything like that. I don't know. That's tough. You guys were in a weird spot when it was happening, I'm sure. I bet if you guys didn't have kids, it probably would have been easier for you guys to stick to what you guys were trying to do.
It probably would have been easier, but I mean, it was still tough on me emotionally, just not being able to, because like I feel like for some of my family members, we still never reconnected in a sense. Like we weren't at that same relationship that I was before with them. So that's kind of tough, especially because like a few of them live like down south and like in the Bay Area, so I really don't get to see them as often.
So you're saying like you couldn't you couldn't act with your family the way you wanted to because of the religion? Like you couldn't be you? And was that hurting you, or was it more like the fact that they were looking at you differently?
It wasn't as much as I couldn't be me. It's just so hard because I mean, if you're going to a party and everybody's celebrating Christmas, so I'm just gonna throw that because I mean that's the biggest one.
Yeah, that's the one that I always hear about.
That's where everybody gets a present. Everybody's partaking. Like,
Yeah.
A birthday is easy. Be like, okay, yeah, like So for Christmas, like we would kind of go to a party, but we try to show up later. Like maybe they would do presents early, or they'd be like, "Oh, we waited for you." It's like, no, like we didn't want that.
It impacted how you dealt with
We circled the
situations
block
like that.
4 times. Come on.
So I mean, that's how it really affected us. And I mean, that's like I said, I really enjoyed being with my family and having conversations and playing games and like really partaking in what it is to be a family.
Did they ever have a solution for that, like through their church, of like how you're supposed to go about dealing with those situations, or were you guys just kind of on your own with that?
Their solution for it is basically it's like hanging out with other witnesses at that time because it is tough. I mean, there's only a handful of people that grew up in that religion, and I would say probably continued up until they passed away. So I mean, if you were born into it, I mean, I guess it's pretty usual for you.
It'd be much easier, if you're
definitely. Because I remember they would be like, "Oh yeah, for Thanksgiving, like we get turkey too. We just don't celebrate it in the sense that it's Thanksgiving." I'm like, sure.
Why are you eating turkey today, bro?
Yeah, sure.
Just randomly on this Thursday in November.
I mean, that too. I mean, if you're at work and you get a day off, it's like, I mean, you're in a sense partaking in the events.
Yeah, that one was always weird for me, especially because you had Aaron at the time, so he was super young. He couldn't do the birthdays and stuff like that. And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to get him a gift, not get him a gift. It was very awkward just being on the outside. I can only imagine how it was for you guys, because growing up with you, I mean, we grew up Christmas, birthdays, all that was so much, like that was the coolest part of the year, was all those events. And when you had a kid and it just kind of switched to where you guys couldn't be doing those things, it was like, man, what's really going on? Like, that sucks. But I could see how Iris would want that, just because at the beginning you guys are looking for answers. Your parents aren't really helping out because they're a little pissed off at you guys, I'm sure, at the time. So I could see it would be a weird situation.
And that was the other reason too. I mean, because I have a lot of kid cousins. I mean, Aaron's around a bunch of them, around the same age, I should say, and having them like have presents and like kind of be like, "Whoa, look what I got!" And just like, I feel like my kid was being left out, so that was another part of it. And my dad, he's like, just don't think of it like a religious aspect. Just think of it as like, this is for the kids. Like, this is like them to enjoy it. It's like,
They corrupted you.
I definitely drank that Kool-Aid to kind of.
Yeah, that's weird. Growing up in a religion is that's really interesting. Like you mentioned that about if you grow up in it, it's easier to accept it because it's all you've known. And you see that with every religion in the world. That's how people are. That's why they act the way they do, because they think they're right. And that's like hard when you start realizing that this, paragon of religion that you've been raised up in, you start seeing some holes in things. You start seeing the way people act, and you're like, well, you're not really following the tenets of your faith. Like you see people not being accepting, or people saying, the Bible, Catholics believe in the Bible too. It's half of what we do. We believe in the Bible, and we believe in tradition that's been passed down through the ages. And, it'll even say in the Bible, you're supposed to love everyone and you're supposed to take care of everyone. But, then you hear a lot of people and even clergy that talk a lot of shit about other people. And you're like, well, wait a second, hold on. Like, aren't we supposed to, they're not bugging us, like you could say, like, for example, like homosexuality in the Catholic religion is considered like horrible. Like those people are just, that's
blasphemy.
It. Yeah, blasphemy, you're done, right? Well, aren't you still supposed to try to be like nice to those people and try to, even if for the sake of argument, you're trying to convert them to stop being, homosexuals or, gender fluid or whatever there is nowadays, but like you're trying to stop them from doing that. Like, aren't you supposed to be nice about it? You're not supposed to be like, God hates you and you're going to hell and all that kind of stuff. Like, be nice about it. That's what it says, right? Be good to other humans.
And that's the thing that always messes with my head, is depending on doesn't matter what religion you're a part of, everybody has their own interpretation of it. So depending on who's teaching that interpretation of that specific religion, it can be construed completely differently for multiple people. And so when I sit here and say that I'm a Christian, my views on Christianity are completely different than what even my dad might be, or my sister, or my mom, or even for you guys. So That's what makes it so tough for me. And then the minute when I start saying, "Oh, it's tough for me," or I have questions, then I feel like other Christians look at me and be like, "Oh, you're just lost. You need Jesus. You need the Bible." And it's like, no, I need answers, and they're not in there like they want them to be.
And that's an argument that Catholics always have about Christians, is that it's personal interpretation. Like anyone can interpret the Bible any way they want, and that's considered a bad thing. But I've noticed that different people in the Catholic religion and different clergy in the Catholic religion will teach a certain subject or a certain belief differently. They will. And for my Catholic, it's really interesting because we don't affiliate with the Pope, so we don't have anyone higher than our priests and bishops. There's no one above that. And it's really, really tough when you have someone who's just a priest or a bishop laying down the law, when someone who's his equal or who's not his equal can say something a little bit different, which might be a loophole for a belief or something like that. And that's also considered good, but only for his church or only for his thing. And then there's all the infighting, and it's like, well, wait a second, hold on. Like, exactly. What? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Talk about religion is almost like the ultimate gray area because you can go so many different ways with it. And so for me, when I look at religion now, is I don't say that I'm going to hate saying this. My mom's going to kill me, but I don't say I'm a Christian anymore. I say I believe in God and I believe in my morals and what I was raised with, and I go with that. And I hope that that's good enough. So good enough for what? I don't know, because I don't even necessarily don't know what I believe with the afterlife. That could be something we can get into here in a minute too. I don't know if there's a heaven or if there's a hell, but I believe that if I'm a good person, then I'm going to be happy with that. I don't need to have a reason to be a good person. I would say, I'm just hoping it gets to heaven, so I'm going to be good. Like, I just want to be good because that's what I was raised to be, not because of my religion, but because of what I believe. So I don't know. For you guys, that could be different, Trev.
Well, just by hearing that, it sounds like almost a great way of taking religion, because by saying that you're a Christian, you're almost labeling yourself as like a Democrat or a Republican. If you're a Republican and you see somebody's a Democrat, you're just like, ugh. There's that sense of like, this person's wrong, first off.
Right.
So
instantly, that's the word wrong.
Yeah, I mean, their views on life and politics is incorrect. And so there's that sense of hate, which if you're a Christian or Catholic, everything is about loving your neighbor. Showing love to everybody, ELE, everybody love everybody. So by saying you're a Christian, Danny could be like, he's wrong. Because I grew up a Catholic.
Yep, that's exactly how I was raised. Yeah. Everyone else is
wrong.
So
by you saying I'm not a Christian, but I do believe in God, is almost a good way of living life. Because you're not separating yourself from anybody. You're not affiliating yourself with anybody, but you're affiliating yourself with God, which is really all religion's about, is having that relationship with God. Is it not? And by putting a label on it, it serves as judgment from others towards you, and you towards others as well. So that's how I'm kind of viewing what you just said, Melissa.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, I believe in God and I believe in my morals, but then I'm not going to sit there and say, if somebody wants to believe in something completely different, somebody wants to believe in Allah or whatever they want to believe in, I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong either, because who am I? Who am I to say that the one person is wrong or right? Because I don't even know what's right or wrong either. So I don't understand how people can still go about telling other people that their beliefs are wrong when they don't know any more than anybody else. Like Joe Rogan always says, you don't know because you weren't there.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. He has that really good quote where he talks about, like whether he believes in God or not, because he always gets that. The people say, oh, be an atheist. You don't believe in God, and he'll say, well, I don't not believe in God, because you don't have an argument that's as good for not believing in God as these people have for believing in God. He's like, no one knows. You can't say you know something when you don't know something. And that's a really tough thing for people to understand, because like you were saying with like the whole Democrat-Republican analogy, you dig your heels in and you lose so much face to say that you're wrong about a certain situation. And people have a hard time with that.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you guys land with the afterlife? What do you guys think happens to you when you die?
Well, for me, I'm just going to go off of what Jehovah Witnesses think, because I believe that not a lot of people are really willing to listen to what they have to say. So I'm going to say what...
So is this what you really believe, though, or is this just like your...
I definitely kind of buy into this idea.
So if you had to put on paper, this is like... Because putting it down, this is what I believe, this is what you would go with?
It sounds so good that... How could you not believe it?
Okay, yeah, I want to hear this.
So... Danny's getting ready. He's
no, I want to hear, because I really don't know what it is. So I really want to hear.
Time to preach,
Yeah. Get your soapbox out.
So they believe that God created Earth for humans, obviously, Adam and Eve, paradise on Earth. But once they broke that by eating the apple, blah, 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 blah. We all know this story.
Yeah.
So what they believe is after Armageddon and basically humanity is almost wiped out, only a few will survive. But then everybody that believed in God will rise back up and awaken and live on Earth and create paradise on Earth. We're not going to, only a select few will go up to heaven and live with God and the angels and Jesus. But then everybody else will live on Earth in a perfect paradise where everybody will, in a sense, be kind of like the olden days where everybody would build their homes, farm their lands, and the animals will be completely like pets in a sense, lions. You can lay with a lion.
It'll be the Garden of Eden again.
Yeah,
it'll be Genesis.
That's
but
the whole world, basically. So that's what they believe will happen when it's all said and done. So that's kind of a great idea.
So why is there a chosen few that go to heaven, but only the rest?
From what I remember, I mean, this was years ago. It's basically in a sense Jesus' disciples, his closest people that believed in the religion. They're the ones that are the chosen ones from God. The sheep, I believe, get risen up to heaven to be
Tom Brady's of the NFL.
In a sense, yes, they're the ones that kind of become the bishops, I guess you could say, of the
elect.
Yes,
the elect to get to go.
The ones that were very loyal and believed and tried to spread the word of Jesus and God.
So is there no hell in this? Is it just strictly heaven, or
they all
Eden?
Die before, don't
hell? And hell to them is a sense of not being with God, because they say in a sense of being asleep. You're unconscious, you're unaware. And so that is hell in a sense, because you're without God in those moments.
So where are you in this afterlife? Just not there.
They're just obsolete. There's no burning and fire, no torture for complete. But
they're lost.
But I do remember that they say after an X amount of years in paradise, the Garden of Eden on Earth, that there will be a second judgment. I believe, if I remember correctly, that people will be oh, I really don't want to buy into this. I just want to be done with life and just that will be it. Because it's just people that believe in religion are oh yeah, I believe in God, but they don't want to live a certain lifestyle, and they wouldn't buy into this lifestyle of
So it's either you're in it or you're not, and if you're not, you're obsolete.
Basically,
crazy.
Ooh, that is nuts.
Danny?
Yeah, I definitely believe in an afterlife. I think we have to. I think it gives you hope as a human being.
How could this just be it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I would love to be able to see my grandparents again. I'd love to be able to see my parents when they die and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Catholic religion is super hardcore on that. You do anything wrong, it's a mortal sin, which can be an impure thought. If you think about a girl's boobs or something, you're going to hell.
We all go to hell.
Yeah,
man.
but I mean,
I'm
it's
feeling obsolete right
now. If you do that and then you don't go to confession, well, that's it. That's it. You die right then, and it's whatever state of soul you die in, that's your afterlife. You go to heaven or you go to hell. Well, that's kind of hard to believe because we're all human beings and we all have that kind of stuff. And I know there's a lot of good people that might have thought of a girl's boobs before,
How can you not? It's so difficult.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean? That's tough for me to wrap my head around. But if that's that's what my church teaches. But I believe there absolutely is an afterlife. I think good people go to heaven, bad people go to hell. There's a place in the middle called purgatory, which makes a lot of sense because if you take the way that works is if you are sinning, but you're sorry for your sins, you go to purgatory and you have to suffer off the interest of those sins. It's ramifications. It's like prison. You get arrested for robbing a store and, you hit the guy over the head when you rob the store. Obviously, you can't just go into court and say, well, you know what? I'm really sorry and be really heartfelt sorry. And okay, the judge is all right, well, have a good one. Get out of here. He'll be well, we know you're sorry and I might give you a lesser sentence because I can really tell you're sorry. But
we're going to hit you in the head.
Exactly. You got to spend some time in prison.
Yeah.
And so it works that way. And I think that people who make, quote unquote mistakes and sins in life, but they're good people, I think that they'll have to purge a little bit, before they can go to heaven. But, a lot of religions are as long as you are just like, I'm sorry, you go to heaven, and then only the really bad people like Hitler go to hell. I don't think it's that absolute. I think there's a lot of people that we might think are good people from the outside and might say they're sorry at the end, but really aren't sorry. And they're going to go the other way. But there has to be an afterlife. I mean, there just has to be. There has to be something. Even though we don't know and we're taking it all on faith, every religion's taking that on faith because we don't know. There has to be something.
Yeah, because like you said, you have to have
even our consciousness or something has to go on.
You have to have that hope because, what you don't want it to... Without that, what do you have? I think the word hope is a whole nother conversation we can have. But so for me, the afterlife, it's so tough for me, man. I hate saying the word lost, but I'm so confused about it because I don't know exactly what I believe. But here's what I want to believe. My true to heart want to believe is obviously I believe in angels. And so I believe when you die, you become a spirit. I don't necessarily believe you go raised to heaven. I believe you still stay on earth. So those moments when you really need something or something crazy happens to you, that divine intervention, that is like your grandma helping you at that point. Or those people that say that they were having the worst day of their life and they saw a butterfly just fly in front of their face and they're like, man, I was thinking about my grandma and that was my grandma or my grandpa or something like that. I like to believe that if you were to pass, you were that bright spot in someone's life during when they needed you the most. And then the people that obviously weren't good people, whether they were bad people their whole lives or just genuinely were bad people, I believe that they are just lost in kind of a time and space type thing. They're just floating around doing nothing, That's what I believe. I like to believe that the good people still get to do good things. The people that have good in their heart get to help others while they're still alive, and then afterwards they get to keep on doing their good deeds. Because I do like the whole idea of heaven, but I feel as if you're on earth, you could still be with your family and still be there for them here. Yeah. Without having to actually physically be there. Yeah. And that's my belief. I feel like if God really wanted us to be true to ourselves and be good people, that we would always be able to be good people, regardless if we're alive or dead.
Yeah. I playing off that, what you just said, I think that I really, really hope like good people get rewarded for good things that they've done and bad people get punished for what they did. And I have a hard time believing that God or whoever whoever supreme being everyone in the world believes in or however it works, but for me it's God. I hope that he looks at decisions that maybe a certain religion will say it's bad for you to do a certain thing, but it really doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't hurt anyone at all. It's just something that they're trying to do to control you. Then God will look at that and be like, well, that didn't harm anyone, so why am I going to use that towards your eternal salvation or damnation? You know what I mean? Like,
what trips me out is how do you determine if someone's a good person or a bad person? Is there a point system? Is it like a grading scale? Like you know what? You were gonna get an A, but had to drop you down to a B because you didn't help that old lady across the street. So I don't know. Who gets to decide? Like we all say, okay, Hitler obviously one of the worst people in the world, but was he just in the situation that he was in makes him? No, obviously he is. Don't make it sound like that. I'm just saying how do you know deep down someone's a bad person?
That's up to God, man.
Yeah, it's up to whatever supreme being. You know what I mean? That's what it is. It's not for us to make that call. And I think that's one thing we were talking about with morals. It's not up to us to judge people. It really is. It really isn't. We're not supposed to be able to say someone's a good or bad person. We can do the best we can with what we can see, which is what our justice system is, and that is what courts and executions and all that stuff.
Which is what I think I have a problem with. Or when religion step in and start saying that no, this guy's a bad person because he likes to fucking put rainbows all over his room. Why do you get to decide that? You don't know that person. Or the guy that robbed a bank because he's trying to feed his fucking 18 kids at home, trying to feed this giant family that he has, and he needs help. That doesn't make him a bad person. Yeah, he broke the law that you decided was a law and that it's not okay to do, but he's not a bad person. He's just trying to do what he can to get by.
That's the problem with human nature, I'd say, because everybody judges people. Yeah. Either minorly or majorly, but it's not up to us to judge them whether they get to go to heaven or paradise or whatever we believe in as the afterlife of good, and judge them for going to hell or space where they're floating around. That's not our decision. We're not the judge, jury, and executioner for that. We can judge them on how we see them. Like I know plenty of Christians that say they're Christian, say they go to Sunday church every week, But then the way they act, I mean, I judge them for sure. Because I'm like, how can you say that you're this, but then you're treating people like that? I mean,
Yeah,
just because you label yourself as a Christian doesn't mean that you just get to go.
yeah. We always had a saying, Sunday Catholics. You always go to you just go to church, whatever. But then meanwhile you're screwing around on your wife on the side, or you're cheating people out at businesses, and just being an evil human being. But then you go to church on Sunday, and it's like, oh.
I always felt uncomfortable. We would go to church 3 times out of the year. We would go Easter, Christmas, and I don't even know what the other time was. Thanksgiving maybe or something like that. And I felt like every time we walked in, everybody's eyes were on us and like, oh look, here they are. Yep, it's that time of the year again. Like
that Easter Christian. There,
it made me feel so uncomfortable because I had my beliefs and whatever. I still considered myself a Christian, but to them, I wasn't a good enough Christian. And it kind of goes into the Scientology thing of how they had the levels of how much of a Scientologist you are. It just made me feel worse
operating
as a person.
Satan level 3 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
it's weird how that works out.
Some Christian churches do that too, but how much you donate to the church. I mean, you get to sit in a certain area. I'm like, what kind of shit is this? God doesn't need that money. God doesn't go off of money. God goes off of your belief.
I never understood the whole money thing.
It's for the pastors and priests to buy the fancy ass cars and the fancy ass houses and act like they do something. When really anybody could read from that book.
That bag that would come around down the aisles and everybody dropping a 2 or a 5 or a 20 because you had a really bad week.
Yeah, we'd have to do the because I think it's like 10%. It's like called your weekly tithe.
Yeah, bullshit.
How the hell can you afford 10%? I always say that. Like I know my parents do it, and that's great. They can afford 10%. They can afford to do 10%
10% of what you can afford to give.
Yeah. Well, 10% of what I can afford to give is like a George Washington $1 bill. I mean, that's what I can afford to give.
So I can take them. That's how much I can afford to give.
In God's eyes, that's okay.
Yeah. Dude, that's a funny story. That's a great story with Mark Twain. He was attending a church one time, and this pastor is giving a great sermon, and he's like, fantastic sermon. He goes, he's a rich guy and he's a writer. He's like, I'm going to make a sizable donation. This guy's bringing down the house with this sermon. And then it's like another 15 minutes and the guy's still preaching. He's like, fuck, this guy's kind of taking a while. I'm not going to give so much, Another 15 minutes goes by and he's like, holy shit, man, this guy, I'm not going to give him anything. Like this is going on way too long. I'm tired. I'm hungry. So finally, like a half an hour later, the sermon's over and the collection plate comes around and Mark Twain pulls out a dime. He went from like donating hundreds of dollars to being like, no,
screw
fuck
you.
this. I'm taking a dime back for my time.
Oh man, it's funny to think about because and we're all in such different backgrounds and stuff, but we all have the same kind of idea of what our beliefs are and stuff. Obviously a little bit different because they can't be identical. But what about with your ethics and your morals? Like, what are you teaching your kids, Trev, as far as to be a good person or a bad person? I mean, is it religious based or is it just straight up morals? Like, this is the right, this is the wrong. You see somebody hurting, you help them. Doesn't matter who they are.
It's definitely moral based. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, just don't murder people, as I always say.
Common theme on these podcasts.
Yes.
Please don't let your kids be serial killers.
We're gonna make T-shirts. # Don't kill people. But I mean, we definitely take a
Patent pending.
We're definitely strict with the kids. We definitely raise them differently from others. I mean, we do curse in front of our kids because, I mean, with today's modern society today, I mean, cursing is out there everywhere.
Yeah, don't be fake. Don't be fake.
But let me put this out here. If your kid cussed at the wrong time or in front of the wrong person, I feel like Iris would DDT him right into the ground.
Not necessarily.
No?
I'm more stricter in that than she is.
I never see her let them get out of line. Like, they're always so polite. Sorry, I'm going to let you finish your story.
Well, that's what, I mean, we're very strict, and that's why they act a certain way in public, because we raise them that way.
Right.
I mean, without a sense of, I mean, disobeying us should feel like punishment. Be like, oh, crap, the hammer is coming down soon. So there should be a sense of, minor sense of fear from your kids. Be like, hey, they're the authority figure. I should be respecting them and what they're teaching me, and I should be taking those teachings and outputting it in life.
Like when your dad said he was going to shove the football up our butt.
Exactly.
Fear.
Yeah.
Footballs are really wide.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyways, go on.
So that's why we're definitely more moral based and how we think, because the parents, everybody raises their kids differently. So we're raising them how we think they should be raised and how we want them to be portrayed out in public. I mean, we get compliments all the time at restaurants being like, oh, your kids are so great. It's like, yeah, well, we're dicks to them at home. And that's why.
You don't see behind the scenes.
Yeah, straight up.
Because I judge some parents. I'm admitting it freely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at Target one time and there was a kid bitching and complaining to his mom, went to Thomas the Toy Train. And she said, no, you didn't clean your room before we came here, so you can't get a toy. And plus, you have like 50 of those at home. It was a solid 5 minutes that. She's like, all right, just grab one. I'm like, oh my God, you just caved? Like, bitch, your kid is not going to listen to you ever. He knows that he can get anything out of you if he has bitches enough. And that's the problem with society.
I was so that kid.
And you know what?
And look at how you turned out.
Hey,
terrible.
I'm a great citizen. I pay my taxes.
That feeds into the one thing about religion that's really important, and that's a sense of structure it gives people. That is why a lot of people gravitate towards religions. That's why they try to find something that gives them a sense of purpose and grounding, because maybe they didn't have parents that were quote unquote dicks to them behind the scenes. You know, and that's the reason Jordan Peterson was talking about that professor from University, I think it's of Toronto or somewhere in Canada. But he's really, really good at explaining this kind of stuff. And he doesn't believe in a religion. He just believes in morals. And he was saying that religion is the structure upon which society was built for thousands of years. I mean, that's the reason we made technological advancements. There were a lot of negatives to it as well, but the fact that people had a common purpose to work and drive towards, you know, you look at all the advancements that were made in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, you know, that was all based off of religion and religion changing and the Protestant Reformation and just a whole bunch of structure that people had. It was the community. Every community had a church, you know,
right.
Or every had a temple or something, you know, like it gave people purpose.
I love that. I think you killed it right there talking about the structure part of it, because I remember when we would go to church when I was younger, it was a every Sunday thing, and it was just probably the one time where we were all structurally together and everybody was there for the right reason and everything. It was good.
Yeah, you knew what you were doing Sunday morning.
Monday through Friday we were crazy nutheads throwing shoes at each other, but
through Saturday.
yeah, through Saturday. But Sunday was there was a structure there, like, and then that's what you're doing in your home is you guys are the structure there, so you don't necessarily have to go to church for that, but they know that there's a structure.
Yeah, the structure is so important. It's so important, and whether you find a structure like Trevor does with, you know, giving them his kids the moral aspect of structure, and some people maybe they need someone else to tell it, or they need something to believe in. Maybe they have a horrible life, and that gives them that moment of escape during the week to where they think, okay, there's something after this that I can offer up all this sacrifice shit for, you know?
Yeah, I just think it's so important, especially because when we were raised with the right morals and stuff like that, to pass that along is so important, because the minute you don't have that structure and teach them that same thing, who knows what's going to happen or how your kids are going to grow up. Like you said, the kid that's losing his mind at Target, that kid's going to teach his kids the same exact thing. You would hope that they wouldn't, but the chances are it's going to happen. And then you were saying about the churches and how they that was the structure of how everything started, and it was a community type thing. I think that's how it is. People still want it to be now, but nobody wants to adapt with the way that society is changing. I mean, people still want to keep the church exactly how it was 20, 30 years ago, but they don't want to progress into how society is trying to grow.
How human beings have evolved.
Exactly. And especially with technology and the way things are now, it's like you have to learn to adapt. Even in religion. Religion can't be the same forever. It doesn't work that way. Nothing can be that way. Look at freaking politics right now. Things need to change. You can't live in the same society when people are adapting and people are changing. It just doesn't make any sense. Laws need to change. Everything needs to change. And religion is part of that. And
then the other side of that argument is when things do change in religion, you have war. You have factioning. You have the reason the whole Protestant Reformation happened. And the reason you have people that call themselves Christian that believe a million different things is because the Catholic religion splintered off into hundreds and hundreds of religions in the 15 and 1600s, and that's where the Christians came from, and that's why we believe such similar things, but on matters of dogma and faith, Catholics and Christians have different ideas, and we both believe in Jesus, Christians and Catholics, but we were killing each other during the Inquisition and during all those religious wars that were fought, and we're this close in beliefs. You know what I mean?
I wonder if it would almost be easier to hit like a giant reset button on everything and just be like, all right, everybody's going to read this one book and that's it. Nobody gets to believe anything. It's just, this is it.
That's like that one thing he was saying about science. He's like that one, Lawrence Krauss, that theoretical physicist, was saying that there's like, there's, if you erased every book and every belief and everything in the whole world, the only thing that would come back would be science. And that's what Mian Bialik was saying about that, how you can bring science and religion and actually look at both aspects of it, take the good from both.
But the problem with having one book is taking away the greatest gift that God gave to us, is free will. Having free will to choose amongst everything. And that's why people gravitate towards certain religions when they get older, or stick with the same one, is that free will. And only having one, there's going to be people that will be like, no. And somebody's going to make up one and create.
Which just puts us where we're at now.
Exactly. So the reset button, it won't do shit.
It just put us exactly. It would just start over.
The game would still happen the way that it's played. It would still happen.
When you play the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And that's probably the craziest part of it all, is there's no real fix to anything. I mean, not that anything needs to be fixed. Just saying that it's a cycle. And you just keep going through it. But I think at the end of the day, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. The only person that you can judge is yourself.
Yeah, and the fact that morals really are the undertone of every religion. Be good unto others and treat others as you would like them to treat you. That's the general undertone of religion, is just be a freaking good person. That's really it.
Oh, man. My number one question would be why do you believe what you believe? I would love to hear from the listeners and
we'll put something up on the group. We'll put something up on the Facebook page, and we'll have people comment on that for sure.
Yeah. So,
because I'm curious, I want to know if it's something that you were just born into and you've always accepted it, like my situation, or if it's something where you dipped your toes into something like Trevor did, or if you're like, you use the word lost, but you didn't want to use that. But you know what I mean? But you're
it's a free agent.
Yeah, you're a free agent. That's right. Yeah. Free agent.
I'm not looking to be picked up by anybody. But
you're just like, right now Scientology is going to go, we can help you.
Muslims are buying right now.
Yeah, definitely not getting
money to spend.
But yeah, so if anybody has any answers for us, I would definitely like to know, why do you believe what you believe? That's all for today's episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast on SoundCloud or iTunes to get all updates on future content. And just remember, it's not important who's right or wrong, but it's always important to ask why.